Hello everybody and welcome to chapter 14 of the book of Shemot as we continue to travel through Tanach. Chapter 14 has 31 verses and it starts in the Koren Sachs Chumash on page 456 and 457. This chapter describes one of the most dramatic moments in the entire Torah, the splitting of the Red Sea. After leaving Egypt, the Israelites find themselves trapped between the sea and the advancing Egyptian army. Pharaoh regrets letting the slaves go and sends his chariots to pursue them. Panic spreads among the Israelites, who cry out to Moshe. Moshe reassures them that God will fight for them. And at Hashem's command, Moshe raises his staff over the sea. The waters split, creating a path of dry land for the Israelites to pass through safely. When the Egyptian army attempts to follow, the waters return, drowning Pharaoh's forces. The chapter ends with a powerful moment of faith. The Israelites witness Hashem's power and they believe in him and in Moshe, his servant. This chapter is the climax of the Exodus story, the final irreversible break between the Israelites and their slavery in Egypt. With that introduction in mind, let us turn to chapter 14, verse 1. Vaydaber Adonai el Moshe lemor. Hashem said to Moshe, saying, Daber b'nei Yisrael, speak to the children of Israel, vayashuvu, and let them turn back, vayachanu lifnei piachiros, and let them camp in front of piachiros, ben Migdol uven hayam, between Migdol and the sea, lifnei Baal Tzafon, before Baal Tzafon, nechachos sachanu al hayam, and you shall encamp opposite it by the sea. And verse 3 explains why Hashem would do this. Va'omar Paro livnei Yisrael, and Pharaoh will say of the children of Israel, Nevuchim heim ba'aretz, they are lost in the land. Sagar aleihem hamidbar, they are trapped in the desert. So this was a tactic to lure Pharaoh into thinking that he was still in with a chance of returning the Israelites back to Egypt. Verse 4, V'chizakti es leiv Paro, and I will strengthen the heart of Pharaoh, V'radaf achareihem, and he will pursue them, V'ikavda b'Pharaoh u'v'chol chelo, and I will be glorified through Pharaoh and his entire army, V'yadu Mitzrayim ki ani Adonai, and the Egyptians will know that I am Hashem, V'yasu chein, and so they did. And the Ramban explains that by Hashem hardening Pharaoh's heart, he was restoring the fair playing field for Pharaoh to choose between whether to pursue the Israelites or not. Because really the plague of the firstborn had proved, without a shadow of a doubt, that Hashem was looking after the Israelites, and so he knew that he would be foolish to pursue them any further. And yet that's exactly what we are going to see him do. Verse 5, Vayugad lemelech Mitzrayim, it was told to the king of Egypt, Ki vorach ha'am, that the people had fled. Vayehafech levav Paro va'avadav el ha'am, and the heart of Pharaoh and his servants became transformed regarding the people, Vayomaru, and they said, Mazos asinu, what is this that we have done? Ki shilachnu es Yisrael me'avdeinu, that we have sent away Israel from serving us. Verse 6, Vayesor es richboh, he harnessed his chariot, ve'esamor lakachimo, and he brought out his army with him. And in this verse we see how seriously Pharaoh was going to pursue the Israelites, so much so that instead of having one of his servants harness his chariot for him, he did it himself. This shows us the enthusiasm that he was still displaying in thinking that he could defeat the Israelites. Verse 7, Vayikach shesh me'os rechev bachur, he took 600 elite chariots, v'chol rechev Mitzrayim, and all the chariots of Egypt, v'shalishim al kulo, with officers on them all. And we can ask the question, where is he getting these horses to be able to ride these chariots if there was a plague that wiped them out? And our rabbis explain that these were animals that were stored away by the Egyptians who were afraid of Hashem. And yet here we see that Pharaoh is able to galvanize them in the interest of chasing after the Israelites once again. Verse 8, Vayechazik Adonai es leiv Paro melech Mitzrayim, Hashem strengthened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, Vayirdof acharei b'nei Yisrael, and he pursued the children of Israel, Uvenei Yisrael yotzeim biad ramah, and the children of Israel were going out with an outstretched arm. Verse 9, Vayirdefu Mitzrayim achareihem, the Egyptians pursued them, Vayasigu osam chonim al hayam, and overtook them, as they were encamped by the sea. Kol sus rechev para ufarashav v'chelo, all the king's horses and chariots, cavalry and infantry, al pi hachiros lifnei Baal Zephon, caught up to them near pi hachiros before Baal Zephon. Verse 10, Ufaro hikriv, Pharaoh drew near. Vayisu v'nei Yisrael aseinehem, the children of Israel looked up. V'hinei, and behold, Mitzrayim nosei achareihem, the Egyptians were thundering after them. Vayiru me'od, they were very frightened. Vayitzaku v'nei Yisrael el Adonai, and the children of Israel cried out to Hashem. Verse 11, Vayomeru, and they said, El Moshe, to Moshe, Hamibli ein kvarim b'Mitzrayim lekachtanu lamus b'midbar, were there no graves in Egypt that you took us to die in the wilderness? Mazos hasisalanu, what is this that you have done to us? L'hotziyanu miMitzrayim, to take us out of Egypt. Verse 12, Halozeh hadavar asher dibanu elecha v'Mitzrayim, did we not tell you in Egypt, Lemor, saying, Chadal mimenu, let us be, v'na'avda es Mitzrayim, and we will serve in Egypt. Kitov lanu avod es Mitzrayim, mimuseinu b'midbar, for it is better that we should serve in Egypt than that we should die in the wilderness. Verse 13, Vayomer Moshe el ha'am, and Moshe said to the people, Al tira'u, do not fear, hisyatzavu, stand firm, ura'u es Yeshuas Adonai, asher yaseh lachem hayam, and see the salvation of Hashem that he will perform for you today. Ki asher re'isem es Mitzrayim hayom, for as you have seen the Egyptians today, lo sosifu lirosam od adolam, you shall never see them again. Verse 14, Adonai yilachem lachem, Hashem will fight for you, va'atem tacharishan, and you will stay silent. Verse 15, Vayomer Adonai el Moshe, and Hashem said to Moshe, Ma titzak alai, why are you crying out to me? Dabel b'nei Yisrael v'yiso, speak to the children of Israel and let them move forward. Verse 16, Va'ata, and you, hareim es matacha, lift up your staff, unatei es yadacha al hayam, and stretch out your arm over the sea, uvkaehu, and split it. Vayavo v'nei Yisrael b'soch hayam bayabasha, and the Israelites will walk through the sea on dry land. Verse 17, Va'ani, and I, hinani machazek es leiv Mitzrayim, I will strengthen the Egyptians' hearts. V'yavo achareihem, and they will come after them. V'ikavda b'faro uv'chol chelo b'richbo u'refarshav, and I will be glorified through Pharaoh and through his entire army, through his chariots and through his horsemen. Verse 18, V'yadu Mitzrayim ki ani Adonai, and the Egyptians will know that I am the Hashem. B'hikavdi b'faro b'richbo b'hikavdi b'faro b'richbo u'v'farashav, when I am glorified through Pharaoh, his chariots, and his horsemen. When I am glorified through Pharaoh, his chariots, and his cavalry. Verse 19, Vayisa malach ha'elohim, the angel of God, ha'holech lifnei machanei Yisrael, who had been going in front of the camp of Israel, moved vayelech me'achareihem, and went behind them. Vayisa amud ha'anan mipneihem, vayamod me'achareihem, and the pillar of cloud moved from in front of them and went behind them, creating a division between the Israelites and the Egyptians. It moved to be a protective force field, to absorb any arrows that the Egyptians would start firing towards the Israelites. Verse 20, Vayavo bein machanei Mitzrayim uvein machanei Yisrael, it came between the Egyptian and the Israelite camps, Vayihi he'anan va'achoshech, and it was cloud and darkness for one side, Vayaer es halayla, while it illuminated the night for the other, V'lo karav zeh el zeh kol halayla, keeping the two apart all night. Verse 21, Vayet Moshe es yado al hayam, Moshe stretched out his hand over the sea, Vayolech Adonai es hayam beruach kadim azah kol halayla, and Hashem moved the sea with a strong east wind throughout the night, Vayasem es hayam lecharava, and he turned the sea to dry land, Vayibaku hamayim, and our rabbis explain that although the miracle worked through nature, Hashem did it in a perfectly timed and controlled way. Verse 22, Vayavo b'nei Yisrael b'soch hayam bayabasha, so the children of Israel walked through the sea on dry land. V'hamayim lahem chama, and the water was a wall for them. miminam umismolam, on their right side and on their left. Verse 23, Vayirdafu Mitzrayim, and the Egyptians pursued them. Vayavo achareihem kolsus paro richbo ufarashav, and they came after them, every horse of Pharaoh, his chariots and his cavalry. El tochayam, they followed them into the sea. Verse 24, Vayihi ba'ashmoras haboker, and it happened at the morning watch, Vayashkef Adonai el machane Mitzrayim, that Hashem looked down at the camp of Egypt, ba'amud eish va'anan, with a pillar of fire and cloud, vayaham es machane Mitzrayim, and he threw them into a panic. Verse 25, Vayasar es ofan makavosav, he removed the wheels of their chariots, he got them clogged up in the mud, Vaynahagehu bichveidus, and it was hard for them to move. Vayome Mitzrayim, and the Egyptians said, Anusa mipnei Yisrael, let us flee from the Israelites, Ki Adonai nilcham lahem b'Mitzrayim, for Hashem is waging war for them against Egypt. Verse 26, Vayomer Adonai el Moshe, and Hashem said to Moshe, Netei es yadcha al hayam, stretch out your hand over the sea, Vayashuvu hamayim al Mitzrayim, al richbov yal parashav, and the water will go back upon Egypt, upon its chariots and its cavalry. Verse 27, Vayet Moshe es yado al hayam, and Moshe stretched out his hand over the sea, Vayashav hayam lifnos boker, Vayashav hayam lifnos boker le'esano, and toward morning the water went back to its power, u'mitzrayim nasim likraso, as the Egyptians were fleeing toward it, Vaynayer Adonai es Mitzrayim b'soch hayam, but Hashem swept them into the sea. Verse 28, Vayashuvu hamayim, the water returned, Vaychasu es harechev ve'es haparashim, and covered the chariots and the cavalry, l'chol chel paro habayim achareihem bayam, and the whole Egyptian army who were coming behind them in the sea, lo nishar bahem ad echad, not one of them remained. Verse 29, Uvenei Yisrael, and the children of Israel, halchu vayavasha b'soch hayam, they went on dry land in the midst of the sea, v'hamayim lahem choma miminam umismolam, with a wall of water to their right and to their left. Verse 30, Vayoshe Adonai bayom hahu es Yisrael miyad Mitzrayim, on that day Hashem saved the Israelites from the hand of Egypt, Vayar Yisrael es Mitzrayim meis asfas hayam, and the Israelites saw the Egyptians dead on the seashore. And finally, verse 31, Vayar Yisrael es hayad hagdola, and Hashem saw the great hand, asher asa Adonai b'Mitzrayim, that Hashem had unleashed against the Egyptians, Vayiru ha'ames Adonai, and the people were in awe of Hashem, Vaya'aminu b'Adonai v'Moshe avdo, and they believed, they had faith in Hashem and in Moshe, his servant. And that brings us to the end of chapter 14. In chapter 15, we will read the Shirat Hayam, the song of the sea, that the Jewish people broke into once they realized that they had been saved and they were safely on the other side of the sea. There is so much more to say about this chapter and the next chapter, this episode of the splitting of the sea. We are barely scratching the surface, but I look forward to continuing to learn with each of you, and in the meantime I wish you a meaningful and wonderful day.